Hi, I'm Dr. Jarek Conrad. Welcome to Healthy and Black, where I share information about the state of health for Black America across 7 categories, from emotional health to physical health. I became plant-based over 15 years ago after losing so many of my family members to chronic health issues. Now I want to help you take control of your health. Welcome to this episode of Healthy and Black. I know it's been a while. I have been busy. If you tuned in to the last episode, you know that I've launched a health tech startup, and I've been working really hard on that, meeting every day with investors, and we have some investors, and I have actually on my phone the beta version of the app. We'll be testing it over the next few months. It'll be ready for you the first of the year, just in time for your New Year's resolution. But I've learned a lot going through this process. I've learned a lot about people. Some things were reinforced, and some things I was kind of surprised about. So I thought I would dedicate this episode to talking about what I have learned as I've talked to investors, I've talked to potential customers, I've talked to potential partners about this whole idea of tackling these chronic health issues. So the first thing I learned, I was a little bit surprised by. Let me set this up. As part of my program, I've identified what I feel are the 4 most common barriers that really prevent people from making the changes that they want to make in their lives. Number 1 is I don't know what to do. I'm just confused. I don't have the accurate information. I don't know what to do. Number 2 is, well, I kind of understand the science. I know what to do. I just don't know how to do it. I know I ought to be eating more fruits and vegetables. I should be working out. I should be getting more sleep. But with so much going on in my life, I just don't know how to do that. 3 is I got the what and how, but I just don't know. I just can't start. I just can't seem to put one foot in front of the other to get started and go back and do it again the next day and the next day. So I start, stop, start, stop. So that's a challenge. And then the final challenge is you put all that stuff together, you know what to do, you know how to do it. You actually put one foot in front of the other. You start making progress. You may make some significant progress, but 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you find that you fall back into your old routines and you end up losing the gains that you made, or in this case, gaining the losses that you made if we're talking about weight. So those are the 4 categories. And yeah, I did get some reinforcement that those categories are indeed accurate, but I was a little surprised at how many people are still in the first category. I don't know what to do. People are confused about what they need to do to improve their health. There's so much misinformation and disinformation and just lack of information out there. In fact, it's estimated that in the United States alone, there are 80 million people who struggle with low health literacy. And this is particularly true among rural, elderly, immigrant, and low income populations. So they just don't know. I was a little bit reminded of that when I was back in Jacksonville, Florida many years ago, and I was working with this group to try to help them improve their overall health. I would say things and people would be like, I've never had that. So I decided to take this group to the grocery store and give them a tour. So I arranged it with the store. I wanted to spend a lot of time in the produce section. So I had the produce person come and kind of explain what some of the vegetables and fruits were. We scheduled I don't know, I had an hour and a half scheduled to be at the grocery store. And I know my stories, I probably start adding time on these stories, but I think we were there for at least 3 hours because we couldn't make it past the produce section because people didn't understand what I have come to know as common fruits and vegetables now after I made those lifestyle changes in how I was eating. But the reality is there were a lot of adults who just didn't understand. Well, what is that mushroom? Well, how do you How do you prepare that? Well, what is that thing? I've never seen one of those. Oh, that's a so-and-so. I heard of it, but I've never seen it, and I wouldn't dare try to cook it. So we spent a lot of time in the grocery store. So I should have known. Of course, that was over a decade ago, but I am learning as I talk to people that that first box is still a significant barrier, particularly in the social media age where people are going to, let's just say, less than reputable sources to get their information. We're attracted to those sources that are going to tell us what we want to hear, particularly if we know we're doing some things that are not quite right and they tell us it's okay. We eat that up all day. So that is a big part of what I'm trying to do with this podcast and certainly with the product that we'll be launching is to make sure people have accurate information. When you get into the serious science of this stuff, it's not a whole lot of debate about what's healthy and what's not healthy. So that's number one. That's number one. The first thing I learned about people. The second thing I learned about people has to do with guilt and shame. So let me explain. Part of this product I have is coaching. In fact, I've developed an AI coach, and I'll tell you all about it in future episodes. But it came up in discussions with people. Man, the good thing about this AI is I don't have to feel guilty. Like, what do you mean? Well, the reality is some people, they don't want to be honest with their doctors because they know they're not engaged in the behaviors that the doctor has suggested. And they don't want to disappoint the doctor. They don't want to feel judged by the doctor. So they don't quite share all the information. So they're embarrassed about what they've been doing. So they won't be honest or they over-report their progress, particularly like physical therapy. The therapist, they torture you, they send you home, tell you to do all kind of stuff while you're home. When you come back in for your next torture session, people are, oh yeah, I did X, Y, Z. I did. The therapist knows. They can tell that you haven't made much progress. But people don't want to own up to it because it's embarrassing, right? They feel guilty about it. And in some cases, they don't even understand what they're supposed to be doing, but they think they're supposed to understand. So they act like they understand because, again, they're embarrassed about it. So that is a real issue. And it's one of the unintended benefits that I think we're going to get out of having this AI coach, because the AI coach is not going to judge you, right? It's not going to scold you. It's not going to point fingers and assign blame and all of that. This AI coach is going to take you where you are and work with you to get you where you need to be. So that was the second observation. The third observation that I have, it's a little bit disheartening and it's complex. Doctors don't have a whole lot of confidence in you. Many of them understand the things that you need to do from a lifestyle standpoint to avoid medications and to avoid the worsening of chronic health issues or even getting those chronic health issues in the first place. More and more doctors are getting information about nutrition. It's lagging, but they are getting some. But the reality is they see thousands of patients. They have a history of telling all these patients what they need to do, and the patients don't do it. They don't do it. And so because of this repeated non-compliance, doctors sometimes why should I even tell them? Because they're not going to do it. So they don't necessarily give you all the advice, the detailed advice that they could give you because they don't trust that you're going to get it done because they have so much experience with people not getting it done. And again, I don't think this is something that doctors are doing ill-intentioned. They're tired of beating their heads up against the wall and not getting any results. I've read some studies that show if you do X, Y, and Z, here are the benefits you get, right? But in the conclusion, when they're talking about the implications and recommendations, they say it would be great if you could do X, Y, and Z, but we know you're not going to do that. So do A, B, and C instead. In the study didn't focus on A, B, C. The study focuses on X, Y, and Z, but they have no trust, no confidence that you can do that. And so it's disheartening, but it's kind of a reality, right? The other thing too is that oftentimes doctors are seeing one appointment after the other. They may not have the time to sit down with you and talk specifically about what your challenges are and what the appropriate interventions could be. And so they may give you some of the basics. I've just talked about the health literacy issue. Some of them might feel they're not going to understand. If I give them all these details, they're still not going to understand. So I got to keep it really simple for them so they can understand it and they'll actually do some of the things. So I'm not going to tell them these 10 things that would help them. I'm going to tell them these 2 things that would get, they'll get some results from. And then we still have we have actually growing distrust of the medical industry. So some people don't trust doctors and some of them feel that. So they're like, I can give them this advice, but they don't even trust me. Patients like, he don't know what he's talking about. I read on social media XYZ, so I don't need to do what he's saying. I can do what the person who is working out of their garage, who's never been to medical school, hadn't passed a biology class, who doesn't know anything about chemistry, who hasn't gotten a personal training or wellness certification, who's just the person who works out in their garage and they feel like they have all the answers. I'll trust him or I'll trust her. Doctors are aware of that distrust and it can potentially impact the advice, the interaction they might have with their patients. These are 3 of the surprising kind of realities that have just jumped to the forefront as I go through this process of building and launching this health tech startup to help people avoid and reverse chronic health issues. Okay, this is a short one today. I just wanted to get this information out. I wanted to hurry up and get a podcast up because it's been a while. Stay tuned. You'll hear more about WholeQ Health, the WholeQ Health app. You can now go to WholeQHealth.com, learn a little bit about what we're doing. You can sign up for a consultation. Today, you can sign up to participate in our detox program, either as an individual for one-on-one coaching or in a group setting. If you got 5 friends, you all want to save some money and you all want to support each other and come in together through our detox program, you can do that. Reach out to me at WholeQHealth.com. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Healthy and Black. Remember, until next time, don't let culture, cost, or convenience ruin your health. Take care. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Healthy and Black. I'm your host, Dr. Jarek Conrad. If you have feedback on today's episode, please email info@jarekconrad.com. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to visit jarekconrad.com to subscribe to my blog. Thanks for listening. Please tell your friends about the podcast. Until next time, don't let culture, cost, or convenience ruin your health.